Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 117. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the talented comic creator of Comical Foods, Christian Ochoa.
Hi.
Christian,
Nice to meet you.
How's it going?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on your YouTube channel.
Oh, you're welcome. It was great because we kind of met when I was doing the interview with our mutual connection, Stephanie.
Yes, we did. I hopped in the private chat.
Yeah. Oh, this is and guess who was here to be a part of your show right there?
Oh, hey, Stephanie.
And so you got a really cool thing going here. Not only do you actually have your website called Comical Foods, which has you kind of have the theme going here with foods. There's an educational component to it, but you also have, checking out your pre-launch page, you already have Journey to the Top of the Food Pyramid, Book 1, The Grain Chamber, and that looks pretty cool. And you said this is gonna be launching
on Halloween.
On Halloween, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Halloween. Yeah.
All right. And so talk to us a bit about this. First, do you want to kind of first introduce yourself and tell people how you kind of got into this line of work, and then we can jump right in and kind of talk about what people can expect on your Kickstarter.
Yeah. Okay, that's a big question. How did I get into Comical Foods? It started with me looking for a hobby. I'm an athlete and I play a lot of sports, basketball mostly. So I wanted to, find a hobby where I didn't get physically hurt sometimes, because basketball is it's a tough sport. You can get hurt, and I tried out a little bit of graphic design. I tried to do a YouTube channel, like a comedy food YouTube channel, and then I tried doing a food blog, and then some illustration stuff. And then after all of that failed, I landed on comics, and it felt like it was my thing. And
right.
And I can't, and you have to remember, I can't really draw and I can't really write. I haven't written anything creative since high school. But when I was, I realized I wanted to tackle comics from a publisher point of view, where I'm more of the guy with the idea, and I'll have an outline, and then I can start do a little bit of concept art, and then I can hire people, work with a team, and I like project managing. I like creative directing, and then I landed into the comic book world like that, just starting out with an idea and working on it. And it took me a few years. One failed project, and that I'm still working on it, but I consider it a failure because I didn't finish it. And from that I learned a couple lessons, and now I'm almost done with this second project, which is going to be my first project that's going to be launching.
Right.
But yeah.
So talk to us about, that's it. This is, I think the exciting part is we might have some listeners or artists or people out there to say, hey, I got a great idea, or hey, I'm a writer, but I need to find an artist. Or I'm an artist, but I need to find a writer. How are you able to go through the steps of being able to plot out ideas and then finding a writer for it, and also then finding artists for that?
Okay, so for plotting out ideas, personally for me, I like to sketch a lot. And write at the same time. I was writing on some index card app on the iPad, and I would just write random ideas down, and then I'll sketch. So if I had a scene in my head, and my sketch, you're talking about stick figures,
right.
Maybe a little bit better than stick figures. So I'll sketch a stick figure here and there, like a scene. I'm an architectural drafter, so I can actually draw buildings. I can draw buildings pretty good, but characters and creatures I cannot. I don't know anything about anatomy, but I can draw settings and landscape stuff. So I would first start with the idea of a story world. It was easier for me. Start with the idea of a setting, and then from the setting, I come up with a plot based around the setting, and then I'll work my way into characters. and I'll just write a lot. I'll have a lot of notes. I like writing titles and log lines, and then choosing, like, trimming everything down until I find something that I like. And yeah, that's how I start usually my process. And then when I was looking for a team in the very beginning, I didn't really know, how to do that. So I Googled everything. I was Googling, how to make a comic book, how to reach out to comic book artists. And so I went on like Behance, and I was, emailing some artists just to figure out pricing, because I didn't even know how
Right.
pricing worked. And yeah, I found some artists, and we just started off with layouts, because that's all I could afford at the time. I didn't have any money saved up for the higher priced type of art, like, line work and colors.
Mm.
So I started off with layouts, and then I found a really good artist, and they really taught me how layouts work. And it was just like I was just writing outlines, and they were drawing layouts. It's just my outlines and their layouts, and it was back and forth. And and then I'll go into, I think at that point I realized I really wanted to do the comic book, and that's when I started saving money for the higher priced art. And then once I had enough money saved up, I started looking for comic book artists. And I would have a budget this time, so I would come at them with a budget, and they would if they liked it, they would join the project. I'll show them the pitch, and we would start working together. And yeah, and that's how I usually, that's how I started building up a team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you? And so you mentioned a thing about the setting up drawing the buildings and
Mm.
that kind of stuff. How does that affect, say, for instance, when we're looking at Journey to the Top of the Food Pyramid, book one? Uh, Talk to us a bit about the world building aspect of that. Is that something that
Oh
seems
yeah.
to come easier to you as compared to like the character development piece
Oh
of it?
yeah. World build it. I guess my first project I world built like for 3 years. I worked on world building for 3 years. I barely wrote any story. I had like an outline of stories, and it didn't go anywhere. And I have enough world building art that I can put out an art book if I wanted to.
Oh, really?
But I that's not what I want to do. I want to do like an actual story. So I scrapped that project, and I didn't scrap it, but I stopped that project. And when I started, Journey to the Top of the Food Pyramid, I set like a budget for world building, so I wouldn't go crazy. And we started off with the world, and I was thinking of like a smaller world at that time. So I was working on my last project was a science fiction world. You're talking about like a whole universe. So
Right.
for my next project, I decided to go small. So I put like parameters on myself. So I said, okay, I can't design a universe. I can't design a country. It has to be smaller than a country. So then I was thinking, I'm an architectural drafter. I'm gonna like let me design like a building or something. And then I didn't really want to do a building because I couldn't think of like food stuff that ties with buildings. Like I was thinking like, candy house and like stuff like that. And then I was thinking, let's think of different shapes. And I thought pyramid. And as soon as I thought about pyramid, the food pyramid idea popped into my head, and I was like, okay, let's just build like a really cool pyramid, and I'll design the levels, and we can do like a graphic novel or a 5-book series, and each level will have its own setting. And that's how the idea of the food pyramid world came up. And then over time, like, we focused first on the world, and then from that we went into creature designs, because the creatures are connected to the world. So you're talking about your grain chamber. You're gonna have, pasta bugs, breaded dragons. If you look on the website, you can see some of the creatures and characters for the story that we already like revealing the designs for. If you go in the stories section and click on story number one, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you scroll down, that's our cover page. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see some of the character. There's some concept art
Oh,
by
wow, that's amazing.
I
Yeah.
did. You see that little sketch right there? I did the little sketch. I just
Hey.
scribbled that on like my iPad, and then the stuff below that was a concept art done by Sarah Gavigan.
Okay.
And then we have some character designs. The character designs were designed by like I think most of the team. We all like took like did concept art for each character and creature, and some people did more than the others, but everyone did concept art. Sugar
Okay.
Fairy took us a while. That was like probably like 30 hours of concept art
Really?
alone. Yeah, I was really picky with the Sugar Fairy. I don't know. I don't know why. I think it was like the most unique character in our story. So I really wanted to make it like stand out from everything else. And we have in the book, in our recipe book that we're gonna, in the recipe section, we're gonna show all the designs that we went through.
Okay. And you have pasta bugs,
Yep.
got
And
oil
oil
serpent.
serpent. Yeah.
Is that an olive in there?
Yep. Olive
Okay.
oil.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a lot of world building, but not too much. Just enough for it for me to just be happy with the design.
So how deep does it go? Do you like have different languages or anything?
Oh
Or
no, no.
oh,
I this is a middle grade book, so I didn't really want to go that deep.
right.
I just want to focus on like the visual design of it, the visual aspect, how it
Okay.
looks. And that's it.
Yeah. So talk to us about this world then. Like I said, so this is book one, and
Mhm.
you have the. Did you say 5?
Yeah, I'm hoping to make it a 5-book series.
Okay.
So you're gonna have, the first one is gonna be grains, and the next one's gonna be vegetables and fruits. And I'm changing the food pyramid. Like if you go on Google and look up food pyramid, they have like certain amount of levels, and they
Yeah.
break it up into like quadrants sometimes. But I'm just making like horizontal sections. So
Right.
I'm changing it up a little bit to fit the story.
Right.
But yeah, I think we're gonna have 5 levels.
Okay. You mentioned earlier too that you use the term log lines for the uninitiated. Can you get what's that? Can you explain what a log line is?
Oh man, I'm bad at explaining stuff. But I think well, for me, I didn't know what I just Google when I Googled everything, I would just like take the first 3 articles and as soon as I read something, I'll write it or like like okay, I guess logline is like one for me it's one sentence that explains your story. It's like a
Okay.
hook for me.
Right.
If you were talking to me, it's just a hook, one sentence, and it has to hook your audience.
Right.
And people say you have to put your character, your problem, and I agree with them, but like if you were to narrow it down for me, I think it's just a one sentence hook, and that's the log line.
So for example, for this one, you would say after falling into a food coma, 2 spoiled siblings must climb up a magical pyramid to escape a dream world full of hangry food animals.
Yes.
That would be your
Yes.
log line right
Yeah,
there.
that would be
Yeah.
my log line.
So what can people expect from the Kickstarter as it's coming out?
As it's coming out, like you're talking about during the whole Kickstarter or like the book itself?
They're like the book itself.
Oh, the book itself. So it's like a 32-page middle grade fantasy adventure story,
Okay.
and it's for middle grade readers who love fantasy, and they're just going to be going through the first level of the pyramid and getting to know the world, and then getting to know the main problem of the world. I don't know if I should reveal the problem. It's something to do with sugar pollution. That
Okay.
I'll say that, but that is something to do with sugar pollution, and they have to find a way to like help solve that problem. And by helping solve that problem, they'll be able to escape to go back home. But
Okay.
they have to go up the pyramid. So this is only level 1, so it's only book 1.
Okay.
And then that's the story part. And then my favorite part that I'm working on right now is the recipe section. So that's like for all the process junkies out there. Like I'm a process junkie. I love seeing how other people like when they share their secrets of how they make things.
Right.
I'm gonna share like pretty much all of my stuff in a recipe format. So like chronologically, step 1, how the idea was formed, all the way to the very end, which I'm considering to be the final book design.
Right.
And throughout those steps, you have, concept art, creature, character design, outline, how to pitch. When I was working on this project, I was creating pitches, and I think I was in Comics Experience. I'm in Comics Experience forum, and I downloaded a pitch that they shared, and I was like, okay, I can use this to make a pitch for myself and to pitch to artists. Because when I started the project, I only had like me the co-writer, and the graphic designer on the
Mm.
team. So I needed a pitch to artists that I want to work with. So in the beginning, I had like simple pitch, and then as time passed, my pitches got better, and yeah, and they're just for internal use and to help us like keep on track, see like the main book, because sometimes new ideas come in and I want to like change the story, but the pitch helped me like stay on track. It helped me not to stray too far from the story.
Mm.
So
And so what kind of like advice or tips that you've kind of that you're implementing now where you are now in your career as compared to when you started that you wished you knew in the
okay.
beginning?
So I wish I knew that how important it was to set a deadline. How important it was to set a goal with a deadline and a budget.
Yeah.
That's the most. I wish I knew that, because in the beginning, in my first project, I was like, all right, I'm gonna finish this book in like a year or something, and I didn't have it was like a rough deadline, but I didn't have a time, I didn't have a schedule, and I just kept working on world building for like 3 years, and that year turned into 3 years, and I didn't even finish the story. For this project, I was like, all right, I'm gonna finish it on hopefully on October 2021, and then because I had that deadline, I started making a schedule and I put a budget. I was going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend this much money on this project, and I'm going to pay the artist this amount every month.
Right.
And then I'll put in like little like emergency months, because unexpected bills and everything. So that helped a lot. Having that goal with deadline and a schedule was a big game changer for me.
Right. And so who would you say who's a part of the creative team now that you said you got? Obviously you got like you said, the co-writer, you got the artist. Who else is part of the team for the journey to the top of the food pyramid?
Got it. You can go on the website. I'm gonna say from my I'm the co-writer. I'm one of the co-writers. Curtis Clow is the second co-writer. He worked on Beastlands comic, which he launched on Kickstarter. Um, um, Angelina Roman Ochoa, my wife, she's a graphic designer, concept artist. Sarah Gavigan is our colorist, concept artist. Michael Armando is our layout artist, also concept artist. All the artists did concept art for this project.
Wow.
And of course the amazing line work by Raphael Sam,
Hmm.
and he also did concept art. Everyone did concept art.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah, that's Raphael's line work right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And did
Thank
you
you.
have and so with that said, do you and you kind of mentioned as well as you can kind of see it too in the pyramid itself. I'm just taking a guess. It's a safe bet. That's broccoli trees, right? So
Yeah.
that's the vegetable. That's just the vegetable side to the pyramid.
Yes, yes. When I was designing it, I was going through several like pyramid designs, and I realized I wanted a vegetable section to be like, I always like including some realistic design, like realistic how do you call it? I'm gonna call it realistic design decisions. So like in my head, I was like, vegetables and fruits, they need sunlight. So I don't want to have them inside a pyramid where it's like, covered by walls. So I was like, let's split the pyramid into two pieces. So like you're gonna have your base, and then you're gonna have the top, and then in between those two is gonna be like the green section, which is you know
Right.
vegetables and fruits. So that was a decision early on when we were designing the pyramid, to just explode it into two pieces and have the natural area be lit.
And so you said this is for middle grade. There obviously there must be an educational component to this.
At first, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to include that, but I
Right.
think I didn't really. I think throughout the whole 5 book series, there's definitely going to be an educational component. But in the
Yep.
first book, it's more about learning about the world and learning about the main problem,
Mm,
and it's more of a fantasy story. So it's
okay.
more of like, you go from this place to this place.
Right.
So first book is not educational. The recipe section is educational. So if the kids or whoever's reading the book, they can learn how to make a comic book. But the
Right.
story itself for book one, I would say it's more fantasy. And then I
Okay.
think the rest of the books, they're gonna lean into a more educational aspect.
And so it kind of follows. It feels like as though as like they kind of go into this food coma, and then they get transported to this different world.
Yeah.
So is this so in Wizard of Oz,
Hmm.
Dorothy actually went to Oz, and Oz is a real place. But for the
Yeah.
movies, they made it that she fell asleep, and it was just in her imagination.
Got it.
So is this given too much away to ask? Is this is that magical world they go to? Is it real, or is it in their imagination, or is that
I,
you don't want to
I think
reveal
I,
that?
I think I'll leave it up to the readers to decide.
Oh, okay,
To be honest, I didn't really design that part, but
okay,
I kept that loose. I think
okay,
readers can decide whether they want it to believe it's real or not, or just an imagination.
yeah. Because you had so, and also too talking about your website, Comical Foods. You kind of have a theme of foods. So
Yes.
is that basically where you have for your? Oh, they go straight there. That's pretty cool. Um, do you have on here like other books? Are they going to have this food themed
Yes.
stories to everything?
Yeah. When I was launching Comical Foods, I was. I guess we can talk about. I can talk about Comical Foods, about the whole branding and niche. I was looking at when I was thinking about starting up a comic book publisher. I was looking at pretty much every other comic book publisher that was out there, and I would go on their websites and their about section, and they would be like, we publish science fiction, we publish, and then everyone would say like pretty much a similar thing.
Right.
Some of them would be like, oh, we publish only horror, so some would be a little bit more niche than others. And so I wanted to stand out, and I didn't want it to go into a genre. So I was thinking of something that I like, and this was also before, when I think I told you I was working on some food YouTube channel and food blogs. So
Right.
I already was trying the food stuff, like some like design stuff related to food. So when I went into the comic book thing, I was like, all right, what if we bring food into comics, and let's niche in that. So it's not really a genre; it's more of a topic. So
Let me see.
this is a comic book publisher that focuses on food themed comic stories. I think I found the perfect niche because I love food, I love cooking, I love eating, and I love high concept fantasy, science fiction, and to be able to bring my love of food into the stories, it's awesome, and it just makes it more fun for
Yeah.
me.
And those marshmallow clouds too.
Oh yeah, I was getting hungry when we were making the book. Every time someone would come up with new concept art, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
And so is there and so when you got the Kickstarter, so give us some do you have any um tiers that you're pretty excited about for the pledge levels?
I'm working on that right now. Like I think one tier that I think I'm kind of excited about is the Halloween special.
Oh,
So for the Halloween special, I'm calling it like I think the trick or treat tier, or the trick or treat reward, where for that 24 hours during Halloween you got a discount for the book. So I think that's a pretty good tier. It's a little Halloween special discount for that. And for others, I'm still playing with the idea of doing like a collector's edition, but like well, I had to look at it. Like I don't know how many I want to do, and I'm also worried about the whole shipping uh, stuff that's happening right now. Like everyone's talking about like paper running out, so I got
right.
to keep that in mind. If I don't want to do too much. I don't even know if I'm going to do a variant cover. I think might do one or two, but I'm going to keep it limited. But yeah, I had to work on the reward tiers this week actually.
Okay.
But the Halloween special and maybe a limited edition or even a Kickstarter exclusive reward where you can only get it at Kickstarter.
Right.
Um, yeah.
And I just noticed too, like I love your logo. That's a that's a C and an F right there.
Yes, thank you.
Look at
Took me
that.
a while to design. I love logo design, but I am not good at it.
That's a really
I
good logo.
it took me a long time. It took me like 2 years to get to that logo. But thank you. Yes. Yeah, it was the logo design is I used to do graphic design for posters
Okay.
in my free time before this, and then I kind of started doing logo design, but um I'm still learning. I'm not really a graphic designer, but I'm learning from my wife. She's a graphic designer, and just architecture school. They
Right.
taught us how to use Illustrator and design and Photoshop. So I'm happy that I was able to learn from school
Yeah.
how to use these programs.
Yeah, Stephanie says, yes, great logo. Makes me hungry.
I'm happy. I'm happy. That makes me hungry. I'm hungry right now. I still have to eat dinner.
And do you so with that said, with the Kickstarter, is this your team too? Is this your creative team? Or do you uh are these the folks that you're already working on? Obviously, probably book two, and other projects as well, or are you looking to branch out for different writers and different artists for different projects?
Got it. Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, definitely branching out. I like the idea of branching out with giving opportunities to new creators. And for this team, I think it's only for this project. I think Michael Armando worked on some concept art for my previous project, so he might be doing some concept art for that project. But this project.
Okay. And you're looking at right here as well as your copyright holders right there. It's
Oh yeah.
you, it's your wife, it's Curtis, it's Raphael. Now,
Hmm.
how did that, so from the business perspective of things, as someone who's the project manager for this, uh, talk about the paperwork, like the legality piece to that. What did when you kind of identified your team, were there contracts involved, or was it
Yep.
just email? So talk about from the business perspective for those that are looking at, hey, I want to find an artist or I want to find a writer. Talk to that. What kind of advice would you give folks that are working on projects now?
Got it. Number one advice is save some money up and hire a comic book lawyer, because they will write you. You just need one contract. You just ask for a collaboration contract,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to use that, for your projects. Of course, depending on the project, depending on the people, you might have to edit that collaboration contract down the road. But if you just ask for a collaboration contract, um, for your project, it's gonna be safe. It's gonna be good because it's gonna be done by a lawyer who knows what they're doing. What I did was the opposite of that in the beginning. So I started off with, I didn't have that much money. I was paying the art team already, and so I went on Google and I just put, comic book collaboration contracts or collaboration contracts, and I just downloaded every single collaboration contract I could find, and then I pretty much wrote my own collaboration contract just by looking at what everyone else had, and then I just sent that out. Uh, and I also made it easy to read because there was some clauses in those contracts that I did not know what they were saying. So I made it
Mm.
like extremely easy for myself to read and for the collaborator to read. And every time I showed a contract, every time I emailed it to someone, I would always ask them, hey, if you want to change something, let me know, because this is very flexible contract. Everything on my end is very flexible, like the time management, the time availability for my art team. I always tell them like, hey, there's no rush. If you're working on something else, you can work on that. Um, so that's why it's taking us so long to do this 32-page comic book, because it's everything's flexible. Contracts flexible. The time limits is flexible, and so I did that in the beginning, and then down the road I realized like I felt like my contract was missing stuff, and then I decided to just call up a comic book lawyer. I don't want to mess up his name. I think it was Gamal Hen- Gamal Hennessy. And yeah, so Gamal Hennessy, great, great person to work with, and they just wrote up my collaboration contract. I had pretty much like fixed my contract. They wrote up a new one for me, and I used that one.
Right.
And yeah.
And to clarify, when you say comic book lawyer, you mean somebody who is a lawyer to help out comic books, not a lawyer in a comic book like Matt Murdock, the Daredevil.
Yeah, professional lawyer. Yes.
Stephanie said, yeah, Gamal Hennessy. So.
Yes, Gamal Hennessy.
All right. That's good. So hopefully Gamal will probably have a lot more people give him reaching out to him now that.
Yeah, he's really good, and he has a website, so you can check out his website, and he explains everything about IP and creator-owned stuff. And I think I can go into the creator-owned stuff and the copyright stuff right now. It was so my projects, I wanted to do everything creator-owned.
Okay.
But I always asked asked the team in the very beginning, hey, do you want to be creator-owned, or do you want to work for hire or royalties? And I think everyone said IP, but Mike and Sarah, they wanted to work. They wanted to stay as work for hire with royalties. So everyone who's working on the book gets book royalties, no matter if they're work for hire or they own the copyright, the IP rights. So everyone gets royalties, and then the IP copyright stuff. It's the four of us. It's me, Angelina, Curtis, and Raphael.
So how does that work? So just from a business perspective, like if you just want to be the work for hire, you get like a bigger upfront piece. But if you want to own some of the IP, would there be less upfront and just more residuals over time, or how did that?
For me, I do it very differently from do it so for IP, it's split up evenly. So I think there's four of us. So that's I'll bet I'm at 25%.
Yeah,
it's 25% each of everyone owns IP, and I think I just have the final say in like creative decision, story decision, and business decision. But like as far as profit goes, everyone's split evenly down the middle. Okay. For work for hire, it's and for work for hire, it's just they get paid up front, and then they get book royalties, and then the book royalties are split up almost evenly between everyone. And I think I get a little bit more. I think I get like 2% more than everyone else. But it's almost split down evenly. But it's the same for everyone. If they're an IP holder or a copyright holder, I still pay them up front. And I don't pay them less, or I don't pay them more. I just pay them up the amount that we agree to, and that's pretty much how it works for Comical Foods. I've heard other stuff with other publishers that they pay less, and then they get bigger royalties, or they pay more and they get less royalties. For me, it doesn't work that way. I like paying everyone like what they're supposed to get. Like, they're part of the creative team. They're putting in the work. They're helping create the story, so they're gonna get an almost even amount of royalties and good, paid. I do page rates, so everyone gets the page rates up front.
So what would have been the benefit of, say, Sarah and Michael not wanting to be copyright holders then?
I think when I asked Michael a long time ago, I think he said he wasn't, he felt like I did already most of the work, and he didn't want to join the IP and be part of the IP team if I already did like most of the work, because like we introduced some of these people at the very, not at the very end, but like after a year of work was done. Right. So I did like a year of work with Curtis and Angelina, and myself, and then like after that we started getting more. The team started getting bigger. So I think, and also they didn't know me. Like, I think maybe like in the beginning they were like, oh, I don't know who this person is. So I'd rather just do work for hire or stuff or maybe I can't really speak to why they didn't want to join us. But from what I remember Mike telling me, he was saying something about like he didn't want to join the IP when like all this work was done, and he felt like it was just easier to do work for hire royalties.
Right. Okay. All right. And so right here, because you have yourself as the publisher, talk about like you mentioned earlier about the printing pieces. Are you looking at What are some of the concerns that you're having now with the are you factoring in some of those prices now that have you had to adjust anything for your budgets at all with just the transportation issues that we're facing?
No, I mean, I'm making my book a little bit pricier than the average comic book because of the recipe section, and and I'm hoping that will help, solve the shipping issues. I still got to work that out though, because I don't know how bad this, printing problem is going to be, but that's something I really got to look into. But from the start, I knew the book was going to be a little bit pricier than your average comic book. And I mean, it also has more pages. Like you're talking about a 32-page comic book story, and then a 30 plus page recipe section. And
So
I'm not splitting them up
right.
in the physical book, because then I had to print 2 books, and that's gonna be a whole nother mess. So it's gonna be just 1 book. Digitally, I'm splitting them up. So if people who who don't have the money to buy that book, they can buy the digital story, and then if they want a little bit more, they can buy the digital story with the digital recipe.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one way.
And so do you have so with that in there, are you looking at is it getting printed overseas, or is it
I have to look into that. I was planning to do printing in the US, but I have to do my research. I'm gonna worry about that once the book is close to being done. Because right now the book is all the line work is done, colors are halfway, and then I just started lettering, and then the recipe section I also started. Like I already have like the outline for the recipe section, but now I'm designing every page. So it's gonna take me probably I think March. I was planning to have the book completely done by, and then printing, and then hopefully hopefully the backers will get it by September. So I'm giving myself a lot of time, because I don't know how bad this printing thing is gonna stall the book. So.
And so you said like 5 books. It's going to be 5 books. Do you already have the outline out already? You know how this whole thing's going to end?
Yes, I have the ending already, kind of like the vague ending. I kind of like some stuff I know is I kind of have it in my head in like a really rough outline, but I'm not writing on any of that stuff yet. I want to focus on this book first.
Right.
So I haven't worked too much on the next issues yet.
Do you have? So this is exciting. Is that so? What your plan is? You're going to have these out. Is it going to be yearly that you're going to try to get a Kickstarter every year?
It's probably going to be yearly, because like I'm like the budget, like it's expensive.
Yeah,
it's expensive. So for me myself, I can only afford to pay artists a certain amount every month.
Right.
And so it's going to be yearly. I mean, unless the project does really good, and I get a lot of money up front, and then I can use that money to fund book 2.
Right.
Then it might go a little bit faster. But so far I've been just using my own personal savings to fund the project.
Yeah, because you're going to have these readers that are going to read this book, and then they're going to have to wait 5 years to read the whole story. So.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, hopefully we get enough money to start funding the next project, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I like making the book as I'm a perfectionist, so I like making the book as like really good quality, but I have to keep in mind that once we start, I gotta go a little bit faster. So yeah, you bring up a great point. Like I gotta get ready for the book 2 if things go well for book 1.
Right, and then you also have other ideas too. So
yes, I have my failed project that I just want to go back to and fix. And then I was starting a little small project with another artist on the side. So yeah, I have stuff in the works, but I'm focusing 100% on this project.
So talk again about, as you mentioned, like the mission of Comical Foods. Do you want to kind of give people a little bit of because you have here as the log line, I guess, or your mission statement. No, it's not the better story. It's like, we believe that creators deserve the whole pie. We're an independent creator-owned publisher. Yeah. So what would happen if somebody says, "Hey, Christian, I got an idea for a book. Can you publish it for me?"
uh, right now, I'm definitely not in a position to uh, do that, or even what do you call it? Get submissions or ask for submissions, because it's just like a one man team.
Yeah,
Further down the road, there's a possibility that that might happen, but I think the public my publishing model would be more of like I'll be looking for artists,
right,
and but you never know. Like as you know, when you make acquaintances, you make friends, you're on social media and people hit you up, and they talk to you and everything. Like you go to who you know
right,
first. So hey, maybe they do get to work on the book if we become friends or something. But my publishing model, if this book goes well, would be to already like start looking at artists that I like, and they might have some stories already, like kind of like some people have pitches on their websites or on their social media, so they
mm,
may already have like a food pitch out, and I might just email them and they'll be like, hey, are you interested in Comical Foods publishing your story? So I think that'd be my first how I would first start publishing other people's stories.
right.
I don't think it would be a submission process. The submission process might be more when I have a bunch more stories down in my belt. But for now, I'm gonna be very nitpicky. I'm gonna look for like artists that I like, writers that I like, and I'm gonna be reaching out to them first.
So would you just be because you would it just be like comic related stories, or would they be like long form stories, or uh, but they
I
all have to
was
have a food theme to it?
Yes, the only thing has is the food theme. I wanted to do other types of stories. I was playing with the idea of like a illustrated novel or novella. So yeah, comic books is just one medium I'm interested in. I'm definitely interested in other mediums.
Right.
Like still like that. I like art, so definitely mediums that incorporate art. But I used to read books when I was a kid. I was a bookworm, so
Yeah,
novels would be like something I might look into, but for now, definitely comic books, illustrated novels, illustrated novellas.
right.
Um, I like poetry, so maybe some poems with like pictures or something.
Right.
So definitely something other than comics. But
Right.
I love comics, so I'm going with comics for now.
So that's exciting. So why so I guess my question is, like, if like the food theme thing is was there a reason to have other like to have it launch on Halloween?
I think it was just I started Comical Foods in
Okay.
October 2017. I started Comical Foods, and I was just like, I want to do like a when you think of October, you think of Halloween.
Right.
So I was like, all right, you know what? Halloween's gonna be my launch date. It's gonna be when you think of Halloween, I want you to think of Comical Foods if you're a comic book creator or something. So I just picked a date. It was in October, and it's kind of related to food because you're going out and you're getting food from strangers, but it's also kind of funny because trick or treat. You
Right.
have your tricks and your scary costumes, and it's fun and everything. So I think it was a I think it was a perfect date that I wanted to tie, with Comical Foods Halloween.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're gonna because I get to when I think of Halloween, I think of comical foods. I will from now on, that's for sure. So so you have so we said this is launching your journey to the top of the food pyramid. Comicalfoods.com. You can click on the link right there. It's right on there. It has you're able people can follow it. It's already there, ready to go on Kickstarter. And is this the first? This is your first backed one, correct?
This is my first Kickstarter project.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Um, so any advice that you got that you implemented right away that you got from launching a Kickstarter that you want to share?
Oh yeah. Oh man. Whew. Don't leave it to the last week. That's what I did. I did that. But I mean, I work really good when I'm under pressure for some reason. I don't know, something about school. Like I always procrastinate And I remember in architecture school, I'll leave like the last project to the last week, and I'll get it done, and it'll be good. But I wish I gave myself a little bit more than 1 week for this Kickstarter, because I think I designed the full Kickstarter page in a day, from like Monday to like morning to night. I designed all of it. I had all the only thing I had to fix is the reward tiers. That's the last thing I got to fix. But like the whole design is like done. I have so I did the design in 1 day, and I did the video the next day. So it's 2 days of work. It was a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was the full Kickstarter page. What made it easier for me though was I think I already had like all my image folders. Like I have a folder structure system where I have a folder, and like it's organized by like, comic book designs, concept art, writing, and each folder has a subfolder. So like I already had a pretty good organization system. So it was easy for me to go into those folders and then screenshot or even drag the actual images into the Kickstarter page. So that made it a lot easier. Having a good organizational system for your images helps a lot, and it's good started from the beginning.
And so what do you use for your programs?
Programs to design?
Yeah.
I use a lot of, I think I mainly just use InDesign.
Okay.
And then, but my team, they use Photoshop, Clip Studio, and then I take their files and I can just import those files as if they import, they can make them into PDFs, or I can use the actual Photoshop files and put them into InDesign.
Okay.
So I use mainly InDesign.
And what did you use, like for instance, like sketching on your iPad? What is that?
Oh, I use Procreate.
Okay.
Procreate for the sketching on my iPad.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any tips that you would give anybody for the InDesign? So you did some of the layout. Are you the one that actually put the layout in for the comic itself as well?
So I think the layout was the layout, I fix up the page. So like when I get the PSD file, sometimes it's not sized properly. So then I'll just like put it in InDesign and I'll size it properly. But the layout, like Raphael and the colorist, they already gave me like a PSD with the layouts already done. So for the comic book part, I just plug it in and then just change the size, play with it. And then I'm doing the lettering in InDesign, so that's also another thing.
So you're doing the lettering in InDesign, not Illustrator? Okay.
No, I was gonna do it in Illustrator. I know Illustrator. I know it has better tools, but then I realized that you could do the same thing in InDesign, and I'm not doing anything like, like complicated lettering wise. So I'm using InDesign. I did do the lettering template in Illustrator because it's easier to manipulate the balloons and the line vectors.
Okay, yeah.
And then so I have the Illustrator file, the template, and then what I did is I just drag the balloons into InDesign, and then I just like lay it out on InDesign, and I can still manipulate it in InDesign. So it works faster for me instead of me importing Illustrator files back and forth and fix them up every time I need to edit something.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but the letters themselves are from InDesign.
Yeah, I think I can actually. I have a share. Can I share my screen here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can share my screen. So this is the screen. Do you see it?
Yeah, let me throw it on here, add it to the stream.
So here's my InDesign file right now, and so what I'm working on is the text. I have text, and oh, here it is.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I have my lettering bubbles on one layer, and then my what do you call it? Yeah, I separate the bubbles and the text, so they're in two separate layers.
Okay.
And but I brought these in from Illustrator, but the thing is, in InDesign you can still edit this. You can still play with it. You can play with the line weight, so it's still pretty good.
Wow, I had no idea you could do that with InDesign.
Yeah, you can, and it's good because it's a page. InDesign is specifically like a page design tool,
Right.
So you can even create paragraph styles which is up here. And so I have a specific font for my lettering, Sugar Fairy. So if I change this, it will change all my text for the fairy.
Oh wow.
so these little tricks, help speed up the process. And
I gotta learn InDesign.
InDesign is great for page design. It's really awesome.
Right. And you can letter in it. That's amazing. What about the word bubbles? Say for instance, the word bubble of anise. Like, is that a static or is that?
So this you can edit. I think you can edit this. It's just a little hard.
It's an object.
It's an object.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can edit it. Just I think Illustrator has some better tools, but you can edit this balloon. You see how I'm editing it right now? You can edit it.
And so that balloon itself is kind of like just a template, and then you just move it around as you want it? Or?
Yes, exactly.
So InDesign, is that vector based then?
Yeah, InDesign is I'm not sure, but I think it's vector based, but I think it works with both vector and what's the opposite of vector? Pixels. Mm. So the artwork is pixel, but these objects all vectors.
Right. That's amazing. Oh, I just learned something new. Look at that. Thank you, Christian.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
This is the InDesign file I'm working on. This is here's the cover. I'm working on the typography for the book again. Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the typography I'm playing with for the. So I want to create a logo for the actual story. So here's like a little pyramid logo, and then my publisher logo is up here. Yeah. So every book is gonna have it. Every story is gonna have its own little logo.
Okay.
And then the recipe section I'm working on. I really gotta work on that one more. But so this is like how the recipe section. So this is like the idea. I think step one is like how I created the idea. Setting parameters for myself, choosing a format, targeting an audience, and then creating a story world. And then when you mix that all together, I came up with like the idea sentence.
Right.
That's one thing. And then as we go further down, you might see some stuff like concept art by Mike. Here you can see some of the sugar fairy designs we started doing like early on, and we did a lot of this. We have a ton for the sugar fairy.
And that's like the main antagonist in the story, right?
Yes, that will be the main. That'll be, I think, yeah. As time goes on, it becomes the main antagonist. But for now, it's just like a character who's following them and guiding them. But here you can see all the concept art and stuff.
Wow, good. This is awesome how that layout is set up.
Yeah, and I had to change it because it's not the final. This is like the layout for like the initial layout, but now I had to like make it look like how the idea page looked like. Right. But it's getting there.
Wow.
But yeah.
And so what the point of the line on the top, is that the bleed line or something? Is that?
Oh no, that's just a little design element. So
okay. All right.
That's just separating like the page number and the title of that step.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, this is a work in progress. So this might change completely when I launch the book. So this is like my work in progress. So
wow, you're gonna talk. This is good. Like you're just like I think of all the guests I've had on, you're probably the most like expert in InDesign like that. That's pretty cool.
Man, I wish I could be an expert. I only know some stuff. I'm still learning.
Well, here's the thing. You know enough to know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know with InDesign.
When I first learned, it was hard. It's hard, but once you start doing it every day, it gets easier.
It gets easier. Yeah. Cool. Well, congrats. So we're at the end of the show, Christian. But I'm really excited. I can't wait to check out the Kickstarter once it goes on October 31st on Halloween. It's exciting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And make sure you come back again on your next project.
Yeah, I will. I'm be more happy to come back again and show some. So I could do like a little InDesign tutorial if you guys want.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Christian. And like I said, I look forward to following along on your Kickstarter.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is that a statue of a dog on your top shelf?
Oh yeah, that's not my shelf. That's my partner's shelf. I think that's yeah, that's her statue. I have a bunch of stuff behind me. I think most of it is hers.